Thank you, Joanna. Conference, I am delighted to be here today as Shadow Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. It's my 23rd Labour conference, but I'm a first-time speaker. From the Attlee government creating our national parks to the last Labour government's groundbreaking Climate Change Act, we can be truly proud of our record on the environment. I'm determined to carry this forward, working with a great team in the Commons and the Lords, with colleagues from the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly, and with our MEPs, and with the Labour Yes campaign. Environmental protection, air pollution, circular economy, food and farming, our continued membership of the European Union is vital on all these issues and more. We achieve so much more by cooperation than acting alone. Conference, this department, DEFRA, could be such a force for good. But under this government, it is failing our country and future generations. First, the Prime Minister appointed Owen Paterson as Environment Secretary, the man who complained that our planet wasn't warming fast enough, who thinks that climate change could be a good thing. Was it any surprise that he slashed funding for climate change adaptation and was so woefully unprepared to deal with the floods when they came? And since then, just this summer, the government has gagged its own scientific advisors and lifted the EU ban on neonicotinoid pesticides, ignoring the harm they cause to bees. It's made a shabby attempt to bring back fox hunting by the back door, but we showed them what we thought of that, didn't we? It was a Labour government that banned hunting with hounds, and Labour will never let the cruel sport of fox hunting return. This government has also broken its promise not to allow fracking in water protection zones and sites of special scientific interest. They'll be trying to get this through Parliament soon, and we will do all that we can to stop it. And they are still stubbornly pursuing a policy described by Natural England's chief scientific advisor as an epic failure, the badger cull. Let's be clear, Conference, bovine TB is a horrible disease. I have every sympathy with farmers who are losing their cattle to it. But Labour will continue to oppose the cull, as we did under the tremendous leadership shown by Mary Cray and Maria Eagle. We will oppose it, Conference, because it is unscientific, ineffective and inhumane, and because it is not the answer to bovine TB. I know that farmers are finding it tough, not being paid enough for what they produce, too much paperwork, late payments, being hit by the exchange rate, and a system of subsidies and the Common Agricultural Policy that needs a fundamental review. So what is the Environment Secretary doing about this? I don't think she's doing enough. True, she is leading a promotional drive for British food. We can all support that. I'd much rather see people buy British lamb, British apples, than imports from halfway around the world. And we need better food labelling so we know where our food is from and what is in it, so we can choose if we want to buy British or if we want to buy local. We can all get behind that, whatever we eat. And on that subject, Conference, yes, I am a vegan, as you may have read, and some people are worried by that. A UKIP MEP said on my appointment that I would have little in common with the consumers of food. Right? You're smarter than UKIP. I can let him in on a secret. I do eat food. And much of it is produced by Britain's farmers. So let me make it clear. I support British farming. I want it to be economically viable, environmentally sustainable, and to have the very best animal welfare standards. And Conference, I want us to make big strides towards greater food security, for Britain to be a country that can feed itself. But Conference, DEFRA isn't just about farming. It's about the food we all eat, the air we all breathe, the land we live on, the water we drink. So how is the government doing? More than 1 million food bank users last year, a third of them children. And while people are going hungry, a third of the food we produce is wasted. Edible food just thrown away. And the horse meat revelations, the fact that we didn't know what was in our food and whether or not it was safe to eat, that was a scandal. And yet the government weakened the Food Standards Agency, which should be there to protect us all from food fraud. Tackling food poverty, food waste, food fraud, decent, safe, healthy food for everyone. Why do the Tories think that that's too much to ask? And what could be more critical to our health than the air we breathe in our towns, our cities, and our countryside? Yet 90% of our UK towns and cities breach clean air limits. From cancer to asthma, air pollution is making too many of us ill. 50,000 early deaths a year. The Tories know this, just as they apparently knew a year ago that diesel cars were cheating emissions tests, standards that are there to protect our air and our health. Yet they chose to do nothing. That's not just shockingly complacent, that's negligent. It's a dereliction of duty. And the government also has a duty to protect our natural environment. But where is the long-term planning, the strategic vision we desperately need? The delight in and desire to protect nature that we all love. Labour knows how important this is to all of us. Town is too. That's why we founded our national parks, protected areas of outstanding natural beauty, created the world's largest marine conservation zone, and promoted the right to roam. And it's why we stopped the Tories from selling off our forests. They belong to all of us. And so does our most precious resource, our water. Yet just 17% of our rivers are healthy, and the government is being taken to court for failing to protect rivers, lakes and coastal areas from agricultural pollution. Conference, this government is no friend of the environment, and it is no friend of people who live in rural communities either. They scrapped the Agricultural Wages Board. They let the wage gap between urban and rural areas rise. They left rural businesses and communities isolated without broadband or decent transport. And their failures on affordable housing are forcing people out of the communities they grew up in. It was a Labour government that acted to curb the unscrupulous activities of the gangmasters and their shocking exploitation of workers in the agricultural, horticultural and shellfish industries. And this government that has overseen a huge fall in investigations and prosecution, that is simply not good enough. So, Conference, I will be working with my colleagues across the Shadow Cabinet to rural-proof our policies across the board so that no part of the country is overlooked by Labour. And I'll be working with Lisa as we face head-on the environmental threats of the 21st century. If this government won't show leadership as we head towards December's crucial climate change talks, then we will. Conference, I know so many of you care passionately about these issues too. I know there is a mass movement of support out there willing us on to do the right thing. I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.